Well, let me welcome you to the conversation segment of the Signature Show this Sunday. You know, if you remember, in the run-up to the 2015 election, one issue drove national conversation. Maybe other ones were just ancillary. That issue was security. And that government can easily be said to have been voted out because of public opinion on how security was handled. The question today is there a fundamental change, improvement, or is the narrative still the same? You will soon know I'm asking these questions. About 13 to 17 days ago, the Deputy Minority Leader in the House of Representatives, Right Honorable Toby Okechukwu, raised an issue of national concern. He drew attention to his colleagues that over 187,000 arms and ammunition belonging to the police were missing. Out of this unaccounted for number, over 80,000 of them are AK-47 rifles. And he raised the question, what is the import of this for national security? There are other issues to that. And so this afternoon, my guest is the Right Honorable Toby Okechukwu, the Deputy Minority Leader in the House of Representatives. And let me give you more information. He represents Aniri Ogu Oji River Federal Constituency of Enugu State. Honorable, you're welcome to the conversation.
Thanks for having me. I'm pleased to have Signaturetv.
Alarm, will I use that word? Are you alarmed that over 180,000 arms and ammunition belonging to the police cannot be accounted for? Are you alarmed?
Well, thank you very much. First and foremost, before I state whether I'm alarmed or not, I'm quite disturbed that for the first time in our history, for the very first time in our history, all the geopolitical zones in this country, from northeast, where you have Boko Haram, to northwest, where you have terror and banditry, and scavengers marauding and then disturbing our citizens, to north central, where you have tension, inter-ethnic, and then kidnapping, and the entrance of Boko Haram, 70 kilometers from here in Niger State. And then the restiveness and the armed sabotage of the economy, as shown from what Governor Wike is doing, the exposure, to what you have in the south is the restiveness and the comfort of our citizens, their safety tampered with. And then you have what is happening in the southwest, where traditional rulers are killed, where people are sacked, Nigerian citizens are sacked from their homes. So if these are symptoms of an underlying menace, and when you hear that about 178 arms, including about 88,000 AK-47 and ammunitions and other arms are missing or could not be accounted for, there isn't any other way to state it. You would be worried that the state is not in safe hands. And I'll tell you, Thomas Hobbes, in the 17th century, about 1661, discussed the social contract theory. And he borrowed from the Bible, a vocabulary from the Bible, the Leviathan. And the Leviathan principle. Leviathan, the actual meaning is a sea monster. And what it meant was that this monster was appropriated for government. But the Leviathan principle is that this monster will have the powers, that is the citizens, that they will volunteer their power. Because we are all animals and we can behave and conduct our affairs the way we want. But when you give up your right to do as you will to government, that this sea monster will have Leviathan powers, and in exchange for you volunteering your right, have the protection of the Leviathan. And when government as the Leviathan fails, ignores, decides not to live up to the expectations of its terms of contract, then you find out that you have a Hobbesian state. It is not fair on our people, and as a parliament, it is not something that we want to abide by or look over. And more importantly, it came up from an interrogation in the ordinary course of their responsibility from the Auditor General of the Federation. So I felt it was necessary, it was prudent, it would be proper for us to interrogate further. It might just not be the Nigerian police alone, there could be other sectors. And you begin to wonder, how are the enemies of the state who are living war, how do they acquire their weapons? Including at the time the borders were closed. How? So we are just responding to duty.
Honorable, I will come back to this how question which you've left hanging. But let me draw from what you just said now, that it was in the ordinary course of their duty that the office of the Auditor General happened on this information. Also, in the ordinary line of duty, when the police authorities got this information, should they not, even before the parliament intervenes, have responded to what is a patently disturbing situation in the ordinary course of administering the police force?
Oh, of course, that is our expectation. We are not looking at who is holding the arms. We are looking not just who the arms may have gotten to. We are looking at the processes, at the protocols of what they are expected to do. The accounting protocols. How do you get these arms bought? How are they assigned? How do you check that they are returned? How do you monitor that they are responsive and responsible? So because you cannot, the AK-47 is not a joke. You can't allow it to get into an untrained hand. Stories are abound where they say people hire out weapons and that kind of thing, but these are complete missing. So have they been sold? Are they traded? Have they been bought? Or is it that some people are taking these arms and doing whatever they want with it? And why are we not worried? So the expectation is that that protocol, what are they? Are there some measures inherent in the police activities that should check this? If there is none, why are they not there? And then at the end of the day, we want to ensure that a more vigorous and much more prudent approach in monitoring what is happening is put in place.
In monitoring what is happening, Right Honorable, let me query you, the political class, in this instance. You go to your political rallies, or one of your colleagues is celebrating something, or you want to show that you are the top dog in society. Your police orderly, the policemen accompanying you on that trip, just raise their AK-47 rifles in the air and ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta, they release rounds. Who is accounting for those rounds? Is it you? Or don't you, the political class, query what to us the ordinary Nigerians is rascality, is unaccountable behavior, wasting, and in the course of that, somebody could be injured, and analogously, he can also sell some of those ammunitions to I don't know who. Are you not people? Are you people like that who are leaders? Are you not supposed to be querying even that ordinary policeman accompanying you?
Well, thank you. Actually, leadership is made of standard stuff. It's not, I mean, you can appropriate the word leadership, but it's made of standard stuff. The only time that is known to me, when by protocol, by convention, for you to shoot or to acknowledge the presence of a VIP is the traditional 21 gun salute. I do not know of any other time through police protocol, army protocol, or security protocol where you come and in a ceremony, civil ceremony, you are shooting in the air. And that is what we are talking about. Well, it is understandable that actually Nigeria has gone through a lot of dislocation in terms of what are the moral values, what is acceptable in society. Where, for instance, you come to a funeral ceremony or you go for a wedding and the presence of VIPs is announced through conscious. And of course, you also are aware that it is not just politicians who use the Nigerian police. People who are in certain businesses use them more. And people who want to, who want to launder their image regarding to show that they have arrived.
High
Also, they have become high profile. They also try and do that. But well, it's become fashionable, very, very fashionable in contemporary Nigerian history to blame everything on the politician. But you know that there are people who are in businesses, including the 419 business, the drug business, the other types of illegal businesses who come to announce the arrival with such guns. But for me, for purposes of safety, I don't tolerate it, whether it is with my police or with anybody around me. I do not tolerate that. First and foremost, safety. And for purposes of accountability. If you waste the bullet, how do you defend the person you're going with? So, and I believe strongly that police authorities do not authorize that. Anybody who does that is on a frolic of his own, and he should account for how he procures his weapons. And that is the quality of inspection, of monitoring we expect from our police services. They should first come from the police hierarchy before the citizens come in. Parliament is to check that, look, everything, just an oversight to ensure that all things are okay. But when that is not okay, then we begin to dig deeper and begin to find out where our malaise is coming from.
Honorable, I'm going to come over shortly to our general security in comparative conversation. But I want to talk about institutional responsibility and accountability, not just with the police force. I do not know whether I'm going to be fair to the Buhari administration, but incidentally, that is the government I will use for this conversation. Do you think that institutions under this Buhari administration, with all the promises the president has made, are accountable enough in the work they do, in the services they render? Because unaccountable institutions will equal failure in nation building. Do you think our institutions are accountable?
Well, I believe that the first way to be accountable is to understand the underlying principles in nation building. Sometimes accountability does not mean when you acquire a lot of weapons, a lot of fighter jets, a lot of ammunition. Accountability is how do you manage our diversity? Why is it that a lot of our citizens are restive? Why is it that a lot of our citizens are responding the way they are doing? Are you engaging sufficiently? The taste of the pudding is in the eating. If we were to base on propaganda, I would say APC has been perfect as led by Mr. President. But the taste of the pudding is in the eating. In my preamble, I told you that my alarm is that all the zones of this country are under peril. It used to be Maitasine. It used to be maybe Chadians invading Nigeria when the president was in charge of a 3 division in Jos. He was able to pursue them to Lake Chad. He was no commander-in-chief. But now, as you see Nigeria today, all the zones, we had civil war, which was happening in the southeast essentially. We had the religious riots, which was happening in the west. We had also the problem when we had the Akintola Awolowo issues, which was snowballed into the civil war. But these were restricted to zones of the country. This armada of trouble is spread all over the country. And that is why it is not possible to stay in one section of the country and say this has become the bulwark of it, because we're all engulfed. So the point is, what is the commander-in-chief doing? What are the institutions of security, what are they doing? Are they absent on duty? Boko Haram started in the northeast and it was constrained to that place. And during our elections, they were chased away, whether by machineries or not. But for the past 7 years, the situation has escalated to the point that Boko Haram is 70 kilometers from Abuja in Niger State. And we are watching. And the major power supply of this country is in Niger State. What if they get into that place? So the institutions have not been
that accountable.
That accountable.
And
more importantly,
yes.
That was why I said, look, if you are an Igbo man and you think that you appoint all the service chiefs from your section of the country, you have no mechanism to get a feedback from anybody from the northwest, from the Kanuri in the northeast, from the Gwari man in Nigeria's middle belt, or from the Yoruba man in the southwest. Vice versa, if you are a Kanuri man and you think you want to appoint all your commander service chiefs from that section, you have no way for a two-way feedback. Look, government operates with carrot and stick. If you pull everybody together and you discuss Nigeria's security, if you want to do anything in my own side of the country, I will first and foremost have a heads up with my people that this government wants to deal with you. If they are not cautious, I will go and tell the government that, look, these boys are preparing. Government will take proactive action. But you can use that carrot and stick approach, engagement and deterrence. That is how it works. How can you be responsive, accountable as an institution when you ignore, refuse to accommodate some sections of the country and you don't discuss it? I am surprised. I'm surprised and alarmed that up to this time in our history of this current government, that there has not been any deliberate effort to call aggrieved people, aggrieved Nigerians, whether it's from northwest, whether it's from northeast, whether it's middle belt, whether it's from southeast, and Ask people what is the problem. Put in a proper perspective. Why do you have to dump 500 billion palliative on people? You constructively engage people from the Northeast, and you have $500 billion as palliative and give to them for economic development. What our people want is not dashing them money. What they want is an enabling environment for them to be gainfully engaged. If people from the Southeast are making a problem, you come and say, what is the problem? Is your palliative, do you need? All your roads, I am making a vote of 500 billion. Then Southwest, and when you say 3 trillion for infrastructural development in all the region, deliberately, and you select some projects, look, if anybody makes noise, I say, what the hell are you looking for? You use that to subsidize people's emotion. It will be evident that people are working. But all this trader money, all this manner of small, palliative 5,000, you dash it and it means nothing. At the end of the day, you come and tell us you are doing 3 trillion petroleum subsidy. You cannot be institutionally responsible. There are contradictions in it.
Now, Honorable, why I ask that accountable institutions? Because as I follow the activities of the members of House of Representatives, you hear XY amount of money has not been accounted for social institution, by social institution. Let us put it in our own media language. XYZ amount of money is missing. Those institutions, are they not supposed to be accountable to some authority, even before you unearth what is missing? Are they not?
Well, you cannot be accountable when you weaponize government. You try to hold some people accountable and others you just look over. Nobody will take you serious. And they just begin to pretend. So some of these things that come to Parliament are things that ought to have been addressed by the institutions. You understand? But when you are negligent or deliberately avoiding to hold them accountable, that is why you continue to see these things come up. You understand? You see people who are bereft of any form of integrity, who are not fit for purpose, you look over, because we are prebendal in our approach to governance. And let me tell you, when you elect to have somebody who is not fit for purpose in government, everybody becomes a victim. But when you have somebody who is fit, we are all beneficiaries. Whether your brother is president or not, you are likely to be a victim, because even when you have a privileged position, those of us who are not privileged will pull you down. So the point to make is that you look, comparatively, what happens in other jurisdictions that is not happening here? The future belongs to those who plan for it, work towards it, and gets implemented. I'm trying to paraphrase the ruler of Dubai. 30, 50 years ago, people deliberately woke up. And
who came to Onitsha to see how Eastern Nigeria was developing the Onitsha market?
Exactly.
Now they have a world market.
A world market. And that is what has continued to happen and atrophy and make it impossible for our people. We continue to lose our eye on the ball, trying to do inter-ethnic competition. Oh, my brother is in governor, my president, my brother is this. It's of no moment. You get the point. Let me tell you, I had an occasion, I think that was in the late 90s or early 2000, to do a program. I was working with Funta Engineering. I was the general manager then, and I had the opportunity to work with Arthur D. Little on waste management. Arthur D. Little is a company from the US. It was Arthur D. Little that prepared the manuscript and the document for the development of Eastern Nigeria. This trading arrangement that we had, where you have people, capital formation, you take about 6 boys, you trade with them, the next minute they're on their own. We were having a turnover of something like $4 billion in people trying to mentor and young people. Atodilito prepared the economic plan, the corridor for industrial development, and nobody has gone back to look at it. That was just responsible for the class of governance that Okpara brought. A company from the United States. All the companies we formed in Eastern Nigeria, they are all dead. But after that little company is still there, doing their consultancy job. What is your succession plan?
Honorable, let me still go back to the accountable institution, because there are 2 issues I want you to address, if you don't mind. I'll tell you 2 stories. Here in our country, the military in Taraba State shot dead one of Nigeria Police's finest undercover operatives, who had arrested a kidnapped kingpin, Wadume, and released him. The police effectively rearrested him and is arraigning him. But that thing has been stalled because the military institution has not released the soldiers on whom fingers were pointed in that unfortunate situation. The military doesn't seem to me to be accountable in a matter of justice. That's story number 1. Story number 2, Sheikh Mohammed Gumi, the respected Islamic cleric, in the course of his meeting bandits in the forest, the bandits asked him whether they make rifles, whether cows turn to rifles. The people in government give them these rifles. I have the video. And the system is not querying that information. And the system is not querying the denial of justice to those 3 policemen who were killed. When will our institutions, that's why I'm coming back to it, become accountable to the point that when infractions like this happen, me, the ordinary Nigerian, expect justice, expect accountability.
Yeah, thank you very much. You see, there isn't any way to make accountability in office to one incident. I will ask you, why did it have to be a battle for Nigerians to win for the commander-in-chief, who by his scope of work, commission, and by the terms of contract based on which Nigerians hired him? Why did it have to be a battle we have to win for him to sack service chiefs? And the situations you're analyzing happened under their watch. Why did it have to be a battle that we had to? Accountability requires you starting from the top. Accountable yourself, accountable by your subordinates. You know? So it's not just one strict sensu situation. It is an overall, you just look at accountability in like you're saying. How can 178
1,000 ounces
arms not be accounted for? It might be there, wasting, and they say it's not accounted for. But that is why we want to look into it. Because there are processes, there are procedures, there are protocols to such things. So it is quite challenging. But the point about crime is that it has no terminal date. If you are not accountable today, tomorrow you will be. Nigerians will call you to question. We can always call up any infraction. But it is our expectation that our commander-in-chief and those he has appointed will live up to the spirit and letter of their employment. We hired Mr. President. It is our expectation that he live up to the terms of his employment. Because how can you say that some servicemen who I am proud of the job our servicemen, the sacrifice they make. They are the reasons why we are here. And they embody that Leviathan principle of coercive government power. And that is why me and you don't have arms. When they sacrifice and they expose themselves, our expectation is that when any injury is done against them and it is visible, that the responsible authorities should, as a matter of duty, it doesn't have to be a favor, call those who are breaching their rights or are killing them or offending the law, our statutes, that should be brought to book. And it should be evident that that has happened.
Honorable,
and that will help motivate
those
who are in service, yes.
I want to make little excuse for the Inspector General of Police, the current Inspector General of Police. Will he not be right to say, you cannot hold me to account? After all, these arms and ammunitions did not just vanish under my watch.
Well, it is a mistake for you to think that when these discussions come up, that we are discussing the Inspector General of Police. We are not talking about the Inspector General of Police. We are talking about police as an institution. And that was what you asked me. You understand?
But he's in charge.
No, he's in charge. No, he's in charge. But they didn't tell you that the arms, got missing under his watch. It is a report of the malaise in the institution. He just came in.
For which he was hired.
What we are doing, we are not blaming him. We are calling him to duty. We are not saying Inspector General. We said in our prayer in the resolution that the Inspector General of Police should hold to account those who are responsible for such a malaise. More importantly, you do not expect the Inspector General of Police to come and begin to handle AK-47. When did you see him handle that? He would have done that as a junior officer. He has other things he can do other than dispensing with AK-47. Well, how does that add value to him? But we are saying that some people, even when he was not IG, may have committed this. And as the person who is the major law enforcement of number one, with regard to civilian security relationship is concerned, number one. What we are saying is that this is what we have. Prove the Auditor General of the Federation wrong, or let us hold those ones accountable. We are not saying he has done anything wrong now. We will be in a position to do so after the investigation. If he fails to take action. So, the Inspector General of Police is not on the spot here. It is not about him. We are talking about the institution. And some of these malaise happened 2018, 2019. And you saw the trouble all over the country started about in other parts of the country, Northeast started earlier, but got escalated since 6 years ago to Northwest, to North Central, to Southeast, to South, and Southwest. So we are saying, why is our police force in trouble? Who is posing danger? Who is competing regarding our social contract, where we had given out the coercive instruments of government to the police, to the army? Who is in competition with them? It's the terrorists and the bandits. And what we are saying is, well, what is giving them that impetus to do so? And we are saying, could it be that these missing instruments may have gotten into the wrong hands? Could it be, like you said, people come and shoot in the public without any cause? Could it be that they are wasting what they should be properly investing in fighting armed bandits and terrorists? It's hypothetical. It's subject to question. We want to establish.
You want to establish, well, Charles Dickens says, ask no questions and be told no lies. But it's my job to ask questions, and I'm sure that the Right Honorable Toby Okechukwu and his colleagues are also raising questions. They don't want lies. They want answers that can help Nigerians to hold whoever has committed the infraction to account. Well, in the past 35 minutes thereabout, if not up to 40, I've been conversing with Right Honorable Toby Okechukwu, the Deputy Minority Leader, Nigeria's House of Representatives. Honorable, thank you for coming to the conversation.
Thank you. And to add that when Parliament decides to investigate or interrogate an issue, particularly an issue like this, we are not doing it as a favor to Nigerians. We are living to what we are hired to do. And even for enlightened self-interest. Myself, and I'm sure as a journalist, you are not asking just because you want any other life saved. You want your own saved. We want to be safe. You know, they called an old man in my village to come and bless Kola. And he said, God, thank you very much. We like the lives you've given to us. We like what we are seeing here. It is also our prayer that we go to heaven. With your mercy, we'll be able to go to heaven. But God, what we are seeing on this earth is very good. Allow us to finish enjoying the paradise on earth before we go to heaven. And I'm sure my Muslim brothers also believe we want that paradise to be clement before we move on.
Well, a clement Nigeria is what Right Honorable Toby Okechukwu and his colleagues want for all of us. And that's why they're asking questions, investigating, not to see lies, but to find the facts. Honorable, once again, thank you for coming to the conversation.
Thank you, and God bless you.
And this conversation never ends. It continues week after week. Just the way my name never changes, it remains Mwabuoze Njoku. Good afternoon.